I feel like this week is going to require a lot of Diet Coke. It's busy. You know how they say that things normally come in threes? This week things are coming in twos. So we've got 2 new mirrorless cameras from Nikon. Go ahead and check out that video. And we've got 2 new drones from DJI. What? And if you watch politics, there were 2 big stories there too. So let's get into the drones. Okay, so just to recap, and I don't want to actually go over every single thing that I went over in my previous video. If you haven't watched that, go ahead and watch it, where I discussed most of the details that were leaked about this announcement. So the announcement was this morning, and now we've learned just a few more details. So I want to go through the stuff that's new, but just to recap just really quickly, we've got a new DJI Mavic drone, the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom. The Mavic 2 Pro comes with a 1-inch Hasselblad sensor, which is from Sweden? Did I get that right? Last time I said Germany and that was wrong, and now, okay, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. The Zoom will actually come with a similar sensor to what you have on the current Mavic Pro, the 2.3 inch, but it will also include a 24 to 48 millimeter equivalent zoom range, and then it'll also go up to a 96 millimeter optical zoom at 1080p. The Zoom comes with a 12 megapixel sensor, and the new 1-inch sensor on the Pro comes with a 20 megapixel sensor with incredible bit depth and additional color reproduction. There's a lot going on in that camera from a color science perspective, which is really actually quite exciting from a cinematography standpoint. They're both coming with upgraded ECMs, which sounds a lot like the same ECMs that they put in the new Mavic Pro Platinum that they announced last year, with the sine wave style power generation, improved blades with the kind of notched tip, and they're getting the 31 minutes of flight time with a max speed of 44 miles per hour. So that information doesn't sound considerably more advanced than what we had out of the Mavic Pro Platinum. It looks like they're slowly but surely evolving on this platform. It still has a very similar folded design, just a little bit more ergonomic. It looks like they've added a little bit more, smoothing to some of the lines, which is really nice. The Mavic has now also gained the feature from the Mavic Air that was announced earlier this year. Oh no, I forgot to put a memory card in it. So that's a really great improvement, as well as being able to pull back those still shots directly to your phone. We're still looking at 4K 30, 2.7K at 60, and 1080p at I believe 90 or 100 frames per second like they have on the Air. So that's really nice. I would have really liked to see 4K 60. I would have really liked to see 4K 60, but I understand they're trying to keep to that 100 megabit per second bit rate like they have on the Mavic Air. So let's start by talking about the stuff that we learned that we didn't know before from the leaks. This is information that has really kind of been filled in as we've seen the releases. Number 1 is the ArcView Sync 2.0. So we've actually gotten the details on what ArcView Sync 2.0 is. So not only will we be able to get the additional flight distance, not necessarily out of the drone itself, but additional flight distance out of the 1080p image return, number 1. Number 2, it's been split into 2 channels, it looks like. So there's an up channel for control and then a down channel for video signal, which is nice. So those 2 things won't be fighting for bandwidth on the same channel. So that's a nice improvement. Additionally, with ArcView Sync 2.0, they're going to be allowing the drone to flip between 2.4 and 5.8 gigahertz bands. So that means that if your drone is flying in an environment that has a lot of interference in the 2.4 or 5.8 gigahertz bands, it'll actually switch back and forth to improve the signal quality, which is really nice. Next is the 360-degree obstacle avoidance. When that was originally leaked, we weren't sure if that was going to be 360 along one axis, but it actually looks like they've added some rear, side, and top and bottom cameras to allow the drone to not run into stuff as it flies up into the air, but also to allow it not to run into stuff as it is landing, which is really good. They've identified that a lot of people fly their drones either in the early parts of the day or the later parts of the day around dawn and dusk, and that those times can be a little bit dark, especially when you are ending your flight. So if it's dusk, if it's sunset, the sun has gone down, you're done with your flight, you're gonna land your drone, it might be a little dark. So they've actually added an LED to the bottom of the drone to light the ground as you land your drone, which I think is just a great improvement. That's a great little feature. It's small, it's not a huge technological thing, it's just a nice quality of life improvement for people who are flying their drones towards the later end of the day. There are actually some software changes that are going to be coming to the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom, specifically the ability to do hyperlapse, which if you don't know what a hyperlapse is, it's where you move your camera, whether it's on your drone or if you've got your camera in your hand, and you stop and take a photo and then move and then stop and then take a photo. Do kind of a time, it's basically a moving time lapse. So the drone can do it either by following a specific path or by free flying based on your controls, or you can actually identify a subject and the drone will rotate around the target. I think this is a really fun feature and I'm glad they added it. It's not super high tech. I think the Mavic Pro could probably do it, but I understand that they need to make software available for their new release. But I honestly think that this is a fun feature that a lot of people will use, and I think we're gonna see a lot of cool stuff like this hitting YouTube and Instagram. So there's also some software enhancements that are actually specific to the Zoom model, two in fact. One is called Super Resolution, which is the ability to take a still photo with 24 megapixel equivalent aperture, but the Zoom will actually zoom into its 48 megapixel variant and take photos and stitch them together. It does all of this in the camera to give you an extremely high resolution image. In addition to that, there's a new quick shot flight mode called Ollie Zoom, which if you've ever seen this done in movies or even with drones now, this can be a really fun effect when doing it in post-production, where when you're flying towards a subject, you can actually zoom out or in to increase or create a kind of a distorted zoom function. Here's an example of that from some footage that I shot today with the Mavic Pro. So I shot that footage in 4K, I zoomed all the way in to 1080p and then zoomed back out to the 4K in order to give you that kind of pull out effect. So that's how you do it if you're doing it in post. I'll probably do a tutorial about that. In the new Mavic 2 Zoom, you can actually do that using the optical zoom that's built into the camera, which is really fun. So that is not all of the features that came out with this drone. That's not everything that was announced today. That's just the stuff that really caught my eye as I was watching the presentation this morning. It was fun to watch. It was some great information. Did enjoy the filmmaker that they had on stage, who talked a lot about the work that he did out in Greenland with this particular drone. Although when he talked about some of the environments that he was in, I thought they were going to announce that the drone was going to be waterproof or at least water weather resistant, and they didn't, so that's a bummer. This thing is definitely not in any way water or weather resistant. But oddly enough, the number one feature that I really kind of perked up when I heard was on the Mavic Pro 2, the 1-inch 20 megapixel Hasselblad version. They're actually including a variable aperture. So that camera will actually be able to vary its aperture between 2.8 and f11, which if you've ever tried to configure a ND filter on the end of your drone, this might take the place of that, and I'd be really excited to try that out, kind of see how it went. I'd love the ability to shoot one environment, maybe away from a sunset with the aperture wide open, and then turn towards the sunset to get silhouettes and high dynamic range shots, and then bring the aperture down, which would be really great. And of course, with that camera, you're getting all the cool color science, HDR, 10-bit depth, RAW, a lot of stuff going on there. So super excited about that camera. I hope that it continues to push the industry forward for that. Price-wise, the Zoom is coming in at $1249, which is about what we were expecting. I think I had said something like $1299 in my previous video. For the Hasselblad version, for the 20 megapixel Pro 2 model, they did bump it up to $1449, so it's $1,450, and that is with, of course, the one battery and the controller. They have unbundled the Fly More combo, so now you can actually just buy a Fly More kit for, I think it's $250 or $329, something like that, which isn't a bad price. But if you take a look at the Mavic Pro 2 with that 1-inch sensor, then you throw in the Fly More combo, you're looking at $1,800 plus tax, and so that's a pretty pricey deal. I think one of the real advantages of the Mavic Pro was the fact that it was a lower cost drone than the Phantom, where now it almost feels like you're paying about the same for the Phantom. So those are my thoughts on the new Mavic Pro 2 and Mavic 2 Pro and Mavic 2 Zoom. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so those are my thoughts. If you have any comments, go ahead and leave them down below. I'm super excited to chat with all of you about your thoughts on this event. Very exciting week. Two big announcements, one from DJI, one from Nikon. So just an interesting time in technology right now for photographers, videographers, drone flying folks. That's who I am. If that's the stuff that you're interested in, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you like videos like this, go ahead and hit the like button. I try and take the information that I see in the news and break it down into info that is easy to digest. So if that's something that you're into, go ahead and hit subscribe. I'm gonna go ahead and put my face right here. And if you're into how-to videos, I'm gonna put that right here. And I'll see you in the next video.